on this. Hi, Tricia.
There we go.
Welcome, 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 welcome. I absolutely adore this opportunity to talk with you. Love the fact that you're sitting up in Texas and I'm down in New Zealand, and we're arcing in the spirit. We've been together, journeying, enjoying the goodness and the faithfulness of the Lord and the wine of that new cluster. So for the audience, tell us, becoming a burning one. Give us a little bit of your backstory and then bring us forward to the threshold moment.
Okay, backstory. Wow, that could take us a long time. Let's see.
Oh, hang on.
Bob, where do you?
Yeah, sorry, I just about to do this. So I'm just
Okay.
pausing for a minute because this will actually help. Okay, so the way my father taught me in my house was we honor our guests and we welcome them in. So for a lot of people, Tricia is actually one of my clients. She came to me and we did some heart works together. Love her lineage. So tell me a little bit of your people, and then I just want to welcome and honor your respect and your ancestors who walk with you. So tell me your tribe.
So my tribe, so as far as lineage, I have got some Hispanic, I have got some English, and that's funny that you asked me that, because one of the big activation times in my life was when I went on a mission trip to Roatan and placed my feet on that ground. And it was a huge activation for me. And at that time, the Lord was showing me and teaching me how to do land work. And if you don't know, the people of Roatan are African and Hispanic. And so I put my feet on that ground and during that time in the water, and just download after download, and myself just weeping for the people and sitting in that lineage that I knew was part of my own lineage somewhere along the way. And I saw this sundial almost, and it was this key. It was a key. And the Lord said to me, "You are a key." And he put it into the stone, and it went around. And I sat in that where I was for probably an hour and a half, just weeping over the goodness of the Lord and the destiny activation that was for me personally. So that was in 2017. Fast forward, as he's still teaching me land work and sending me to different places and teaching me how to just put my feet in that place and have dominion by just being. In 2001, I was driving my oldest daughter somewhere. We were out of town. I'm not really sure if it was for a powerlifting meet but I'm driving, she's asleep, I'm listening to worship music, and I am deep in the spirit, and I'm taken up, and I see and I hear at the same time the Lord say, "Command your spirit to spin in tandem with the living creatures." And I'm driving and I'm like, okay. And so I commanded my spirit to spin in tandem with the living creatures. And I saw the flaming sword of the Lord come down from out of heaven and come through the top of my head and go all the way through my body. And the rainbow of colors, it just ignited. It just ignited. And so really, those two times in my life were major spiritual activations for me.
Awesome.
It kind of began it all for me.
Yeah. So 110% absolutely accurate. That literally is true. So I honor you. I honor the cloud that walks with you, that comes in through the sound of your voice. I respect and revere the awe of the majesty on the frequency of who you are as a living being, as a watcher, as one who shines and illuminates and is multidimensional and bright. I honor the assignment on earth as it has been written in you. And I welcome you to my house, my whare, my family, my people. And
Yes.
there's a Maori word that comes up, and it's hui. So we're sitting and we just open the door to all those that want to ascend and come up and sit in this environment. It is that easy. And the chairs have been pulled out, and you're welcome to come and sit with us. And we just dedicate this time to whatever wants to come through. We say yes, yes, yes. And I love it. Thank you, Tricia. I'm so grateful that I got to meet you and journey with you. This is such a great pathway.
Yes, it is. And I'm so grateful for you too. And I honor your house, and I honor the angel over your house as my angel communes with your angel. And like you said, we arc into the heavens, into the heavenly places, because my house recognizes your house.
That's right.
And I honor it. And I'm grateful to have had Father lead us together, you know, to come in face to face with one another and really activate. You know, there's been a lot of activation, you know, and just us being in each other's sphere. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
It is.
It's beautiful.
It is. Okay, so now tell me, when you were 13, so that's the crossing over age, that's a threshold moment of becoming a woman or becoming a man. You know, if we talk Jewish culture, the bar mitzvah, you know, I think it's women 12 and men are 13. So you made a public declaration. Tell us a little bit about that, and then how all hell broke loose and you walked this journey. And I know you came through it as an overcomer, but it will just help connect the dots for a lot of people and inspire them. Tell me what happened when you were 13.
Really at 13, you know, I was not raised in the church. My background, of course, there is a lineage of addiction. I, at 13, really entered into that lineage of addiction. At that time in my life, it was almost like I went one day, I was asking and trying to encourage some friends of mine that were in addiction, that there's a better way, and almost overnight that flipped for me, and I entered into addiction. And so at 13 years old, I was doing all of that, really until I was 25 is when I finally got clean, and really decided to start having a relationship with the Lord. So at 13, yeah, it all kind of spun for me. It all kind of spun for me, you know, and I didn't have anyone leading me, you know, in the way that things should be, you know. But
And
that's okay. Today, that's okay.
yes, and that was part of the journey and the testimony, because you've come through that record, and we're going to talk about that next. So that period is really significant. 13 years to 25, that's 12. That's a governmental era, and it's a governmental number. So you went into the old record of your family, which had an echo and a way and a bent, and it was so familiar. It must have been really strong magnetic pull into something like a tunnel. But then you found the light and you came through the other end when you were 25. So governmentally, you have authority. You've taken the head off that serpent of addiction. And in Proverbs, it talks about, it likens addiction to being stung by a serpent and being injected with poison. So awesome. I love that head. We're just going to take that one, and it's now becoming our food. The flesh of that body becomes the food and the record of your testimony as one is overcome. So now you've come through to the other side of that. What's next?
Well, wow. What is next? Children, children, 21, I had my daughter, my oldest daughter. And, really just trying to, I think, recalibrate, after coming out of all of the addiction, and walking out, setting a different precedent in our life, Jonathan and my life, and our daughters at the time, and we're babes wobbling around, trying to figure all of that out. And we did. It's taken us a long time. And we've up and downed a lot of things together. But I'm so glad that we stayed. I'm so glad that we stayed. As far as for my marriage, I'm glad that we stuck it through. And, we're going to talk, I'm going to say something that may be triggering to some people. But it was abusive. So, and let me say, a lot of the abuse physically came from me to him. And whereas a lot of the abuse from him was emotional, we just didn't know how to not be the way that we were. And looking back, I'm so glad and grateful and thankful that Jonathan didn't walk away from me, and that I didn't walk away from him, because there was a time that I asked the Lord, I need release. I can't do this anymore. Release me. And he did. He said, if you want to go, I release you to go. And Jonathan and I separated for a time. And it was during that time that I was going deep with the Lord. As usual, that's my place. I want to go deep. I want to know. Tell me, help me understand. And that was really when he was teaching me about the Mazzaroth and who we were according to our birth gate, the lineage that we had, according to the tribes, that tribal lineage. And it was so cool because my birthday is on the cusp of a Cancer Leo. And so that's, of course, Issachar and Judah. And the Hispanic people also carry the banner of Issachar. They were the scribes as well. Jonathan, by his birth gate in the Mazzaroth, is a Virgo, and he is Zebulon. That's our whole marriage. I stay at home. I get to be a stay-at-home mom and wife, and he goes off and he busts his butt for us, and he brings in the goods so that I can sit home and scribe with the Lord and go deep with the Lord. And that's exactly what happened within that tribe. And so the Lord is showing me all of these things during this time. At the same time, he's like, you're released, honey. If you need to go, go, And I'm like, okay, And of course, I considered that. Jonathan and I considered that. We talked about it. And I'm so glad that I decided, and the Lord taught me everything that he did in that time. And I realized that Jonathan and I had a soul contract even before we knew one another. And what I mean by that is it was set. He would trigger me, I would trigger him. He would trigger me, I would trigger him into the higher record of who God created us to be. And so that time in my marriage was so dynamic teaching time for me.
Yeah.
And just being able to relationally see, well, what is a relationship? How am I going to learn this if my partner is bliss all the time, And so it really taught me the workings of, interrelationship.
Fantastic.
So that's that part.
Yeah, and I love that, because that's true, and it's a journey we walk through, and a lot of people don't talk about it. Being empowered by your higher power. The soul contract, they talk about that we have to untether and heal it and undo from it, but it's often looked down as a negative, but it holds mystery, it holds keys, but it's actually still underneath that pure love and bliss and being nurtured and being accepted. And it's the earthly tie to our family lineage, because it's like an AD marker, and you just ping with each other. You don't even know what it is, but it's because the familiar steps are so comfortable. But we've come in as bondage breakers, as liberators, swords of light, resonating with truth. And we signed up and said, we'll do the inner work, we will heal, and often haven't understood the journey of the soul. But you've come through many dark nights, and you've sat in the waters of the deep to birth and align and awaken and bring forth that new record, and crying out, who are we according to the scrolls of our lives. And that's the thing I love about the governance of recognizing the dominion over your family and the canopy. So your children are risen up as light beings, walking in the spirit with a completely new record, untethered from the old. Hello.
Yes. And I can tangibly say so. I know that. I know it because I have experienced that over and over and over and over again. I may not now going through some of that, like you said, I didn't have a framework for that. I really didn't even have a language. Now looking back, you can see the tapestry that the Lord is weaving and bringing forth out of you as, like you said, a living record seated in Christ, seated in Christ, administrated through Christ.
And that's the witness. We're witnessing. We are the witness. And we're also the standard. and we recalibrate because we have to be in the room. So for instance, I was in a room and there was a man who was speaking, but the sound bite coming out was both negative and positive, and the ear was tuning to hear what was spirit breath, what was life, and what was condemnation, what was death. And both seeds were being planted, you know, in the minds of the audience because they were babes. So there had to be a level of authority in order to measure the record of what was being released, because he sat in authority as one with influence, saying he was authored as a, and it's funny because it talks about the woman, the bride. So what we're speaking about is what a wife looks like. Hello.
Right.
Hello. Yeah. You know, and it's like, flick, no, flick, no, flick.
Yeah.
No. So tell me a little bit about your cells, because that leads us into the time of burning. And I know sometimes when we're going into the record, so it's like keys and we're opening up gateways within ourselves. And I've got a class on pathways and how to administrate the gateways of your soul for those that are interested. But the cellular memory gets opened up, and that's the ancestral record, because we're actually going back to the time of the first people in the first estate. And when we set the harmonics of that, but the triggering is activating the seed line, and there's a negative dark mark because it contains the story of our ancestors as an echo, because we are pressed into a way, and when we've walked out of abuse, or we're terraforming and transforming and healing, this is the alchemy that is so sacred, you know, so sacred. And this is the realm of the priestess, the highest priestess, because not all can work in this measure. Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell me what happened when you would get triggered. And I'm talking at this from a chemical level. So this is the aspect of, you know, people talk about, oh, you know, you're a bit moody today, you're a bit bipolar. I haven't worshipped. Zing. You know, my mind is tormenting me. Zing. And then it's like the harmonics where you become balanced and centered. And that's the faithful. You know, so tell me, as you were going through the cells and they would pop chemically, because when you've been doing drugs, it affects your central nervous system. And like if you've done a lot of meth or speed or whatever, you're pinging, you know, especially if you've been injecting. So you need the treatment of the light of Yeshua to come through those cells. So tell me, go.
Well, I mean, adrenaline was what I lived off of, even after I was clean. And Jonathan and I would trigger each other, or I didn't do anything unless adrenaline was there. I didn't clean the house unless I was pissed off. I didn't, you know, you want me to do something, piss me off. And Jonathan knew how to piss me off, right? Or I could be pissed off at whatever, you know. I'm gonna find my fix one way or another, you know. So enter Gray. So my second daughter, her name is Grayson Rivers. Woo! You know, both of my kids with their names just completely, you know, just completely on point. The Lord knew what he was doing when he named them, you know, just completely on point. So with her, she had some health issues, kind of off the gate that we had to walk through. And I knew that Western medicine was not the way to go. I had already kind of come out of that, because I knew it very well. My grandmother is a retired nurse. My mama was a nurse. I mean, I understood. And I saw my mom deal with fibromyalgia in her body and other things like that, which I also got diagnosed with at 15 and dealt with. And, she never got any relief, she never got any relief. So having said all of that, when Gray got sick, the Holy Spirit led me to homeopathy, and that is an energetic based healing system. And so that was really kind of where Holy Spirit started teaching me about energy and, looking for natural laws in nature and that kind of thing. So that was a foundation. And I actually became her homeopath, and I spent years reading and implementing and reading and implementing to my daughter until she was made whole again energetically. And as soon as I got her to a point where she was in homeostasis, I went, woo, and my health just boom declined, because I had been in fight or flight my whole life. And yes, that was sustaining me and it was helping me, but the Lord was like, okay, you're done. You're going to sit, now it's time for you to heal. And he put me on my bum. He put me on my bum. And I'm not talking for just a little bit here and a little bit there. I got to the point where all I could do was just sit on the couch or lay in the bed, as well as, not just complete burnout, but here I am dealing with major pain in my body from the fibro. My mom has Lyme. I've not ever been diagnosed with that, but it runs, even if I don't have the bacteria in me, I do have the energetic imprint because she had it while, I was in her belly, that's passed down. It's passed down.
Yeah.
Seed line. It's passed down. And that energy, and we learn this in homeopathy. They call it an energetic taint or a miasm. And so you go back through the record, you clear the syphilis, you clear the tuberculosis. It's all a layer. It's an energetic imprint because it's never been cleared. And we can talk about that on, just the earth front of it hasn't been cleared because, penicillin, whatever was used, just suppressed it further into the body. But it's also not been cleared as far as the record of the scrolls in the scroll room.
Come on.
And I know that because it was maybe it was October of last year, and I was communing with the Lord and in the secret place, in that deep place. And I was again taken up into a vision, and it was a scroll room, and I see all the angels working, and I knew that it was our line. It was the room of our, Jonathan's and mine and my children. It was our scroll room, and the angels are pulling these scrolls, and I'm like, okay, why are you pulling these scrolls? But there were other scrolls, and the scrolls that they were pulling weren't lit up, but there were other scrolls that were lit up, and then we're immediately into the courtroom. And I'm like, oh, we about to get a judgment on these scrolls of my lineage. And I'm observing from over here, but I'm also in the defendant's chair, sitting on Jesus' lap, melding into him. And of course, my father, Ancient of Days, is behind the bench, and the whole thing goes on. And the angels are bringing these scrolls, and, Holy Spirit as the paraclete is there. And I'm just watching and experiencing, engaging with the whole court system. And of course, as they take the scrolls and the judgment is rendered of innocent and not guilty, and the angels would take them back, and then we would go back into the scroll room and we would they would file them, and all the scrolls were lit up. And all the scrolls were lit up.
Awesome.
Well, as my experience, we're given a foretaste of what is to come. He does that because that's his goodness, that's his mercy. And we know there's a lapse between heaven and earth. There's a time lapse. And so it was almost like, he gave me this, he let me observe. Why? So that I knew once that administration and that shaking of the record and the burning up of the mortal record being tethered to the earth through my earthly lineage was going to be burned up. And that was, again, me having an encounter with the seraphim, with the burning, with the angels that carry the flame. And I saw them working on my body. It was a night that I was having great pain within my body. And I went outside and there was a storm coming. And at this point, I understood. I know the creation energy that comes through a storm. I understand the opposites and polarizing them to engage with that dynamic, that energy that God is pushing into the earth. And so I'm walking and I'm praying, and I see the angels working on my body. And I'm like, okay, and they're like, you have to be still, you have to be still, you have, and so like, I'm like, I can't be still. And I'm walking. And so, that was just another, foretaste of, what was going on in the spirit for me, what was to come. And shortly after that, I got an illness. And I was down for a while. And, but I look at illness a lot different than other people do. I know that it's a purging of a record, that my body is doing what it was designed to do, and that is purge the old. And so, I'll push into that. I'll settle into that, encourage my body, thank you, Lord. I know that you're, this is for me, not against me, regardless of what everybody, on the earth views it as, and so, and every time I've ever gotten an illness, or every time my children, I always see great gains cognitively, whatever it is, there's gains that come from that. And so, that was in February, that I ended up kind of getting ill. And so that was just another part of the record, that was being burned up out of my DNA, because I don't want to be tethered to my earthly DNA. I want to be tethered to him. It's Jesus' blood that runs through my veins. It's his record that I want to, his lineage. That's why we're grafted in. That's why we were grafted in. That's why, that's what his blood did for us. And so, in experiencing all of this, I was really learning about the earthly record of my ancestors and my lineage that hadn't been, it just hadn't been dealt with. Nobody, there wasn't a mature son or daughter that understood the way of the kingdom, the way of the priesthood, that could administrate the clearing, the full clearing of the record. And that's what he was teaching me as I was experiencing it, because that's how he works, you know. That's how he works. We're not just experiencing things to be like, oh, look how cool I am. Oh, look what my dad did. You know, and that's all great. And it is, you know, but as you mature, you realize, I mean, there's a purpose. There is a purpose for that. There's a purpose.
Yeah. And I love that, you know, DNA, divine nature, authorized. That's maturity, divine nature, authorized. And this is what the redemption of your family gate looks like. You know, this is the covenant ones. These are the faithful. These are the witnesses. These are the ones that are living testimonies and carry the good news and the sound of the record. You know, these are the ones that, you know, you need to be listening for the ear that is speaking, you know, hearing and speaking. And that's the, so much goodness there. And like so much goodness there.
So much goodness. So much goodness.
And I just want to say one thing, because I wanted to say something else and I could feel my, you know, the Holy Spirit. Some of you need to realize you have been coded and hardwired for the Spirit, for the awakening that is upon us, for the door. This is the mystery. This is the why you're seeing in the Spirit. Okay, you're coded for this. You are waiting for this, to hear the sound that will activate you. Okay, it looks like something. We are witnessing of as ones who have gone before, and we're sitting in the stewardship of this as a magistrate. Okay, and this is what I said about you know, someone can say, oh, I'm a priest, you know, I'm a priest. And you go to them and there's nothing, because they're not endorsed by heaven. They haven't received the authority and the power to forgive sins. But we have to forgive the sins within ourselves to restore our land into the first estate, which is a portion. It's a portion of the vineyard. It's a portion of the wine. It's the cluster coming forth. Sorry, Tricia, I just needed to say that.
No, that needed to be said.
This is what a wife looks like. You know, I'm checking in with my husband, but I'm not engaged, you know, and I'm not all coy playing games. You know, and that's still, you know, there's no, you know, if I don't wax my legs, he doesn't kick me out of bed.
Right.
You know, there's a different administration as a mother. And people have talked about, oh, you know, God is crying out for the mothers and the fathers who will take responsibility and care for the children and aren't worried about a platform, and they'll steward something fresh for the earth. Whereas a lot of people are looking for spaceships to go to outer space to find heaven, whereas, you know, heaven dwells here. It's atmospheric. This is the dimensional shift that has come in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And you know, the Lord is going to give you a training ground and somewhere to work that out. And what better place to do that than your own lineage? Just like you said, I am the real estate of now as far as my lineage is concerned. I'm the now real estate. That record is in my bones. And whether or not people in my lineage received Yeshua as their savior or not, they didn't deal with the record. They didn't deal with, because they didn't know how to deal with the record, and so for me and my understanding,
this is the spirit technology.
Yeah. He said, and this is where you hear people talking about, jumping the timelines and because it's a living record. And so until me, because I have accepted him and I am grafted into his lineage, and he has brought me forth and trained me and taught me, I have to go back. I have to go back and walk my land. I have to go back and walk my land because I carry the dominion. I have to put my feet in those places on those timelines and let that record come forth through me. I don't stuff it down. I don't bind it up. I don't call it a demon. I don't say it's just a record that, yes, is still under the curse, but somebody needs to bring life and absolve the record.
Yeah. And that's the unlocking. That's the power of the blood. That's the covering. Yes. Because there's a key, there's authority, there's treasure, there's recompense. You can't ask for what you don't know. If you've been raped or sold as a child bride, you don't know what you don't know. You need a mama in the house who says, girl or boy, come on. Come on.
Yes.
Who's going to hold them? Who's going to brood over them? Who's going to bring the medicine? And that's the other. Go on.
And I even had to do that with my little girl. So if I got saved at 25 years old, whereas in my dealings with my father, he made all of that well with my soul. And I was able to see and know and realize that forgiveness and, him fathering me and allowed that to happen, and engaging with him of what a true father looked like and sounded like and felt like, all of that. But because of the trauma of my life and because of the record of the trauma in my lineage, there was a dissociative identity disorder, and my little girl was still locked away in some rooms in my temple, and she was never allowed to speak. Jesus carried me forward. Of course he carried me forward, but he carried me forward and up so that I could come back and walk and let her out and parent her and love her and show her we've overcome these things. We look, you've got this, you've got, and allow her to voice her feelings and, uproot all of that stuff. And even in doing that, I'm recognizing as the mature one where the out of order records were activated in my life.
Yeah, that's good.
I can see, and I have to sit in that with my little girl. How did that make her feel? And I have to give her a voice. And then I come back and I parent her and I love her and I bring her up with me to where I am. And then finally say, okay, now go play and be a kid. Now go play in your father's kingdom and be a child. Go play, honey.
Yeah. And it's restoring trust. And I've walked through the fierceness, the ferocious anger that is righteous, but it is full of zeal and it's powerful. Acknowledging the trading on the purity of the innocence of the girl who has been called in, comes sent as a gift, but has been misunderstood, abused, mistreated, kicked out, thrown out of the temple, driven out of ministry, driven out of the church, called a witch, named a soothsayer, or said that she's a clairvoyant or a sorceress, because the power of Christ flowing that wants to come through isn't known, but that person originated and they're the result of 5 generations of holy vows where the people walked in lineage and covenant promise with their God. They did not bow the knee. So when we're going back and we're going through and those triggers are sitting there and we're feeling the power of the assault and we're having to tune it as a living fork and a frequency and a testimony, and we have to do our healing bath. We have to sit in the shadow of it and allow what comes up, because I carried that religious curse that you are of the devil, you are seeded, you are demonized, I'm going to abuse you, but then I'm going to put this baptism upon you and say you're evil. That has to be driven out, because it is a lie. It is a lie of the flesh. We're told that the mature ones will sit and judge angels, and everyone's, ooh, the devil's so big. Men and women do things. The people do things. We forgive the people, restore the land, heal the generations, speak hope, bring the diamond forth with clarity, and we communicate and we open up the channels of grace to allow mercy to dethrone the king of delay. And this is where the church wants to go back around the mountain, back around the loop. We don't understand the sphere that everything living is within the domain of I am. We are either out or we're in. We're either in the evil eye or we're in the good eye. And it's just the lens. Okay, but as we come down, it's the power of the spiritual iniquity that drove them. That's what gets judged. And that's why those administrating angels are bringing all those scrolls, because it's like, oh my God, she's doing it. She's doing it. Look, here, here's another one. 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 Because who you forgive and set free is free indeed.
Yes.
Wow, we've been very passionate, very, very passionate. And this is what zeal looks like. And I've known this time was coming. And last time I talked with Tricia, I got so excited because it's like, it's now, it's now, it's now, it's now, it's now, it's now. And we've been waiting. And that's what obedience is. We carry the blessing of obedience in the record of our ancestors, and we're listening. We don't obey man. We don't bow to an angel. We're not worshiping, but we're waiting for a sound. We're waiting for the release. And the Lord gave me, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago, I choose to remember, this prophetic word of fire in the Texas grandmas. And I could see you guys like just shooting from the hip, and you had these silver bullets and they were just smashing through, the vampires, the energy drains, and it was just piercing, but it was like, and whether you want to call them holy rollers or whatever, but you were just so on fire, ignited. And this is what that looks like. So I'm super excited to have the fulfillment of time now here. And I wrote that, we're partnering in the state of now. as one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I honored the ancestral line. Like, you know, a lot of people don't understand the cloud, or they get confused about the ancestors. They think it's all demonology, whatever.
Right.
You know, whatever. But the grapevine of our father's house looks like something. So when we talk about, you know, there's a blessing in the cluster of the new wine, the blessing of our people rolling through the generational well of who we are is opening up. And that is the depth that the people of this hour long for. You know, we've talked about the whales, and we've talked about being able to go in, and, you know, Proverbs says, drink out of your own chisholm, drink out of your own well first, get that refreshing and be satisfied. Yeah. But these are the opening ups of the rivers of life, you know, your mountain, your river, my mountain, my river, my people, my family. And that's when we feel the multidimensional ones, because we open up the gateway through worship, and it's like, they're living, they're alive. So they
are alive.
I feel the love, and let's just talk about this, because I've been doing a lot of reconciliation work on my female side and regarding my mother. And it's sitting and allowing the recoding and the rewriting of a new record, because you're forgiving, you're releasing, and you're erasing, and then that makes it right. And it allows that mother's blessing to bubble up and come forth in light, in the original design, the original way of intention, you know. And we're forgiving, you know, the pain of addiction, the pain of alcoholism, the pain of codependency, the pain of gluttony, you know, the pain of incest, you know, the pain of abuse, and the pain of being outcast and judged by a religious system that simply did not understand the mystic. We are mystics.
We are mystics. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the mystery. Hello. That's the mystery of Christ. The mystics. That's the mystery, you know. I mean, you really think that we're going to look like the world? You think we're going to talk like the world? You think we're going to understand, you know? And I mean, we've never fit into the world systems, you know. And that, of course, you know, beat us and battered us. And, you know, I mean, I'm super neurodivergent. You know, and I never even really realized it. I thought it was character defects. The world says you have a character defect. You have a character defect. Well, and having my own daughter, and both of mine are, but really walking through with Gray and just realizing, you know, she's way neurodivergent, and she's so free, and she's so innocent, and you know, there's a technology in us. Of course, the world beat us and battered us and labeled us and, you know, reinforced you don't fit, because we carry the breaker codes.
Come on.
We carry the breaker codes for the matrix. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Zerubbabel. Hello. Hello.
So,
you know,
tell us a little bit about untethering, because when I started talking about untethering and leaving the matrix, you know, 3 or 4 people would catch it by the spirit, you know, it'd resonate, but so many people didn't have the language or understand what I was talking about. So tell us about untethering. You know, we speak the language, we're there. Tell us that journey. And then, coming in and out, in and out, in and out. That's ascension. Pop in, pop out. Mary Poppins, in, out, in, out. Oh, divine appointment today. Boom, got it, go.
Yeah. Well, really, I mean, untethering for me with the Lord, I mean, I had to come face to face with all the programming. I mean, there's so much programming. Like, I I didn't know, okay, like I seemed to be organic when I was with the other robots that were programmed. But once the Lord removed me and put me, by myself in solitude, then it was like, oh, and he's showing and untethering and showing and untethering, and I've always kind of known that, I'm a decoder and, all that kind of thing. And I've always been able to see patterns. Well, that's because I'm autistic. Of course, I can see the patterns. That's a heavenly technology. It really sucks. It is. And it really sucks the way that it had to, the tangible storyline that has come with God sending the autistics here, which is the vaccine injury. I mean, just whatever it is, the energetic taint that it's coming through, because it has to get here somewhere. And there has to be an explanation for the people of why that, and of course we've over and over and over again said, well, they just, God, I wish they would fit in. I wish they would be able to do this. I wish they would be, we want to fit them in, well, they didn't come here to fit in, and they're never going to, they didn't come here to do all of that, and the Lord's is about to unlock a lot of the non-verbal autists, and they're going to crack some code. They're going to crack some code and blow this matrix up. So y'all get ready for that. So I don't know. I mean, like, he's untangled me for so many things. I mean, and let me go back to this, and it's triggering, and nobody likes it. There was a huge like untethering. So like, what, just because the collective has said that this is a curse, why do I have to, you're telling me that my body part is a curse? So that was really a big place that he began untethering me, and with cuss words, and who said, and just making me really look at, well, who said that's a cuss word, Tricia? And then, it would kind of open up into, it's that hive mind thinking, which is the programmable AI non-organic way. Right. And we've all been under that, right? We've all been a part of that matrix system, Another really huge untangling for me was using plant medicine to help my body heal. There's so much stigma that comes with that. And the Lord, he was like, we use that for Gray. And he was like, why can't you use that for you? Well, because I'm an addict, because I'm a recovered addict. Oh, okay. Are you? Or are you one new man? You know what I mean? And so, those were the thing, those were some of the things that God, really started showing me.
Yeah.
The out of orderness. It's just out of order. It's an inversion of the proper order of things. Right? I mean, how many times have we heard reversing the inversion, inverting the inversion, inverting? Well, we're taking it and we're putting it right side up, right? We're putting it right side up. So, I mean, there's so many things that the Lord has had to identify and untether me from, because it's just out of order thinking. It's not his measure. It's not his measure. We think that because we're measuring something by a worldly standard that everybody has agreed upon, well, it must be what he wants. It must be his highest standard. And it's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
It's
And
poppycock.
Yeah, and that's the boundary, because there's been a lot of conditioning and imprinting. So in my family, we were influenced by nuns. Well, I wasn't, but my mother and my sister and my brother were growing up. So there was an imprintation, and it was generational as well. And we would have our mouth washed out with soap. And, you know, if you swore or something like that, and there was a prim and proper way of speaking, you know, a way of doing it. And my mother's swear word was sugar. But she was also an emotional eater. And, you know, so it's really interesting, and the suppression, and wasn't able to articulate her feeling world. So, you know, something would happen. She would have a flash of anger. I am wild. She would eat sugar, you know, and it would sit, it would fester. So that's the clearing out. But also the finger is evangelism. This is speaking to people. And, you know, the delivery system that you were talking about before, it creates a story. People can connect with it. Oh, okay, I can understand. So it's a way in to an audience where you can connect with and scientifically talk about a delivery system, but it's not the end. You open up the energetic pattern. And what I saw here in yesterday, I was in a meeting, there was a doorway that was open, that an invitation of the spirit and the wind angels had come through, and it was this new way. And the invitation was, when the married people open their heart and stand and welcome in the door and this new move of the spirit to come through, what happened was restoration on their lineage all the way back through their family, their tapu, or, you know, the whakapapa, all the way back. And there was redemption on the chieftains, because they were the seed line. And the other thing happened is their prophets, they were called bush prophets. They were coming forward to sit with people who had understanding, who could connect the dots. So where they had been called idiots in the past, because it sat in the environment, it's dot the T's. I dot the T's. I connect the dots. Now understanding is here and comes, and that unlocks the spiritual autism of being deaf and mute and shut down. And then they drop, because now they're getting accepted in their awareness, and they sit, and there's no war. You know, you're a married, you know, you're a warrior class. You got to worry about something. You got to fight. No, because the war is within. You sit, and then you open up. And this guy I was talking to, he was talking about the dimension where the spirit that was traveling as an orb came, and he could see it in day. And he was like, God, what is this? Because he can ask his father, and he has language, because he's of the first people, the firstborn. You know, we're of the family, we're of the tribe. And he said, oh, I'm revealing you to him, revealing you to them. And then because I'm like, oh yeah, because I understand the hybrids. So he tells me a little bit more. Yeah, you're safe with me. I understand, because their inner world is so big, and that's the autistic. They've been looking into light, so there's so much depth and insight, but they haven't been given a place to speak because of society and the old cultural record and the judgment, and we can't forgive, we can't come into reconciliation because they have not paid enough yet. It's like, well, who's going to pay the price? Jesus.
Yeah.
You know?
Jesus, he already did. It's finished.
Just
learn to administrate it. We have to learn to administrate it. Like, we have no problem being like, well, I'm an ambassador of Christ. Well, what does that mean? I mean, like, okay, so you can say all these fancy things, but like, Do you know, I mean, like, do you understand the order and the purpose of it? You know, I'm not called after the order of Melchizedek, just like Jesus is, to sit around here and look at my priestly garb.
Yeah, king. Yeah.
Hey, you know. But no, it's like, nobody knows. It's almost like, I mean, some people do. The majority of people like have no idea what it's for. How do the inner workings of the temple, how is all that working up there?
Yeah.
You know, and until we allow him to lead us in and engage and behold and with wonder and you know, you know, because, you know, when we come face to face with some of our things, it is, you know, but until we allow him to lead us in and teach us, I mean, yeah, we're kind of just gonging. We're just gonging.
You know, here's my gold card. I've got an ATM
Yes.
with Melchizedek.
Yeah.
You know, and God bless the living beings. You know, I'm not being disrespectful. I honor the watchers who watch over the word and the testimony, and I know the grace and I know the level of responsibility that comes with that. So we don't treat it lightly, but at the same time,
Right.
It's like, wakey, rise and shine. You know?
It's a trigger. Let me trigger you.
Yeah.
Let me so hello, you need to be, people need to be triggered. They, you know, how do you wake up from a bad dream? There's a jolt, there's a trigger. You know, and then we wake up, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we need to be triggered.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Then we walk back and close the door and heal it and cover it with the blood. You know, and again, gateways are so important to the soul level of what we are talking about. And that's my foundational stone that opened up the way to me in such, because the testimony of Christ as a living record means he will visit you in your home. You can trade with him, but you don't get stuck in your suffering and your sorrow, because the demonic crowns will come in as well, right? And so the other thing too is, you know, Holy Spirit woos us to come and meet Jesus. We fall in love with him. You know, the lover of my soul, you know, this is the covenant energetic marriage of the Lamb. You know, and it's a living thing in our homes and in our lives, and we're walking and breathing. But then the purpose is to go into meeting our Father. So Father is coming. Father is coming home to us. You know, and many of us have been abandoned, you know, and we're all, oh, who's your spiritual father, you know, and is he going to disown you and kick you out, you know, or is he going to stand there and say, that's my girl, go, you know, and their fear of standing up like guacamole, because you're going to get hammered, you know, or you're going to get slapped in the spirit. Oh, you're demonically trading on my revelation floor because I am in the order of the way. You know, it's like the Ancient of Days has a family and a people group, and the hope of technology that is spiritual in nature. Hello.
Yeah.
You know, hello.
Hello.
Hello, baby. Oh, I see you. Welcome to planet Earth. I bless your life. Anna in the temple. Oh, I see yellow with you. I honor the spirit that comes. I honor your guardian angel. And I'll just give you a kiss, and I'm going to release the terraforming agents of dominion. And I put a boundary and a marker around you, and I will be the terror to any enemy of yours that raises up. And may your mama teach you how to put all things under your feet, honey.
Yes.
Yeah. Woo. Glory. Awakened. Holy. Already done. Light come forth. Warfare has ended.
Already done. So walk the way. Walk the way. Walk the way. Yeshua laid it out for us, and many have gone before us walking the same way. And so it's getting a little wider and a little, just walk the way. Go, walk the way.
Yeah. Permission granted.
So yeah, permission granted. Absolutely. Absolutely. All are welcome. You are welcome. And you know, you said that on a lot of your posts, and when I was going through my stuff, and that was such a it was alive when you would say that, Paula, and I would be like, oh, I'm welcome. I'm welcomed. I'm welcomed. I'm welcomed.
Yeah, you are welcome.
Yeah. Yes, you are welcome. And people don't feel welcome because of their indoctrination on whatever sphere it's come from.
Yeah.
On all of it.
Yeah. And this skin is just an avatar.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
it is.
Don't be offended or triggered, you know, by the skin.
Yeah.
You know,
unless it triggers you higher.
Yeah, unless it triggers you higher. Yeah.
Unless it triggers, you know, and that's part of the alchemy. We just don't understand how things, you know, we don't understand how to use things for our benefit. All things are here for our benefit. Fear, I can forget everything and run, or I can harness it and rise.
Yeah. And that's catching the Pegasus. You know, the Lord took me through this where I was spirit walking, and oh my gosh. And it was having to learn to sit and hold your seat, you know, hold your seat and love your body, you know, and this is the whole thing. We have to let go the gospel of suffering, sorrow, and misery and hatred. It's self-hatred. Why are we hating ourselves?
Because we were told to.
You know, flagellation. I'm unworthy. No, you're worthy. Christ died for you. You are of the Father. You are worthy. You are worthy.
So worthy.
So worthy.
So worthy. And not only that, you were created out of love and desire. His desire was for you to be here.
Yeah.
For such a time here.
As this. You weren't born 50 years ago. You know, you weren't born tomorrow. You are here now with a generational blessing, a wealth of knowledge, and the bounty of your storehouse, the treasury, the depth of knowledge and wisdom. My older sister's retired, and she specialized as an autistic teacher. She knows Braille and all that sort of stuff. I did not know in the spirit in at home in the kitchen a few years ago that there was a grace gift that was given to me, and I could see her face, and I was like, oh. And sometimes it's a little bit, you know, like, because you're talking to the principal, you know, so there's a little bit, my little girl would be like this. But then I went and saw her as a sister, as a mature woman, as a friend, as an equal footing, and she was a widow. And I have Owen Poanamo, I probably pronounce his name wrong, prayed for me about the widow's blessing. And the widow's blessing is a teaching I've done, a podcast, and the widow's blessing is something very close to my heart, and an anointing, a grace, and a revelation. And I went and saw her, and I heard her, and I heard her wisdom and her intuition and the natural sight. And she didn't realize, but she goes, oh, I thought you were driving a yellow car. And I'm like, she's prophesying to me. And her words opened up a dimension. And because I received and I came into the sound, honoring her, You know, she is an elder in my house. It unlocked future things that I'm now walking in, that the angels are now, you know, threading through and sowing. So it's a seed sowing, and this is why it's so important for us to understand who we are. And I wanted to go back to that thing about the divergence. So my friend Tricia Chandler and I talked about this, and we did a whole series regarding it. So the unlocking of the richness of the language and the sight of that autistic, where we're actually able to speak and bring forth who we are. And people are like, the elderly are cursing, you know, because they don't understand. So they're putting this negative imprint on the kids. But the whole thing is they're wanting to say, no, we're non-divergent. You know, it's not about my clothing. My clothing is comfortable. It's not about my skin color. It's not about my sexuality. Get off my freaking genitals. Stop trading. Stop limiting me to being a pawn in your holographic game of your van imagination and the thing going on in your head where you've set up an altar, and it doesn't matter who's present because you're putting something that you shouldn't be putting into something you shouldn't be putting it into, you know. And that's the thing. It's like, no, I am a spiritual being, and they're not quite there yet because they're teenagers. But this is what they're trying to say. They're trying to open up the gateway of their life and say, will you accept me for all of who I am? You know, I'm a bit confused. I'm experimenting. Are you still going to love me? Are you going to kick me out of your house and say that unless I bow at your altar and repent? You know, I mean, I had one woman, God forbid them, but she took the door off her teenager, stripped her room, put only what she was allowed in a black rubbish bag, and left her with a mattress on her floor because she didn't like something about her. That is trauma. That is abusive.
It is.
And that is religion, and it stinks.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes. And it's funny you say that, because I didn't take everything out of my kid's room, but I taped her room one time and made her live out of what was in the dirty clothes. And, you know, and that's the oldest one. And, you know, we have to deal with some of those things, her and I, you know, we have to deal with that, you know. And just like she is the one that kind of grew up with the volatileness of Jonathan and I's relationship, and I had to tell her a couple weeks ago, you know, and Jonathan and I, obviously, we don't fight like we used to, but we banter. We like to banter. It's kind of our love language. We like that. Boom, 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 boom. It's fun for us. But, you know, it triggers Rain, and, you know, and then she feels like she has to kind of rise up and be like, diffuse the atmosphere, because that's what she grew up with. And I had to go before her and say, and release her, hey, that was never, ever, ever, ever your responsibility. And I'm so freaking sorry that you felt like you were responsible for me and your daddy's relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to do that. You are released. That was never your responsibility. And not only was it not your responsibility, my God, how much failure did that set my little girl up for? She's trying to do something that, like, she's not responsible for. And so let's take that, you know, and spread that to what you were saying. You know, we got to stop setting these babies up for failure and, you know, making them responsible for things that, you know, they're really not ready to be fully responsible for. And then we're judging them because, like you said, they're experimenting and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out. You know, they will figure it out. They'll figure it out.
And this has to be the intergenerational medicine of healing and change, that comes through, because we're healing violence, verbal violence, emotional violence, mental violence, psychological warfare, but also the body. The body has been assaulted with such violent patterns of denial and, so much, and it's post-traumatic stress.
Yes,
it's
it is.
the disorder, and there needs to be ease, but we're resisting it because people are saying, oh, no, it's the devil, you've got to fight and struggle and be dry toast because the rapture is coming. And so we're resisting the very thing that will heal and nurture our families and our generations.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. I was like, I seem to trigger Americans. I trigger African culture who want to use me and my gifting and to serve them. And then I trigger the American woman or the Bible Belt men who want me to bow down and listen to them. And I'm like, well, you're not my husband. Oh, you must be Jezebel. It's like, well, hello. Are you paying my bill, honey? No. And that's the thing. I mean, they don't even want to party with my husband, if they think I'm dynamite.
Right.
And then the girls, it's like, wow, they're the cheerleading girls, and that it's, God bless them. But there is a sisterhood that can't be cancelled. There is a sisterhood that can't be manipulated. There is a sisterhood that will honor and walk with each other. And, why ask me to discipline your husband or correct him? And that's the thing about prayer. We need safe ports and harbors because we don't know how to do stuff. We don't know how to do life together. But those who walk in this way, and I'm privileged with the women, and I honor them in my own community, in my sphere. And like David said, those who honor and are holy and worship the Lord will be part of my council. So there is a small, close-knit community, and then you have your counselors, in your spheres. And a lot of people through COVID have gotten closer, and you've done life together, but betrayal sits there, the knife sits there, energetic patterns sit there. So whilst you triggered them and you administrated and you helped them, if they return to their nature, they have not been transformed by Christ. There is an idol sitting there. There is a marker. There is a boundary, a guru or a lord. And a lot of people have given vows to lords. And this is why I'm saying about we haven't bowed the knee, because the strength of our generations, even when we've done the generational work, we have to let it go, bringing it all before Christ, letting it go at the altar, and let go of what we've been in. And I saw that in my own, and it was like Holy Spirit said, seven circles out. And that's where that person was repositioned to, 7 circles out. And I had to Google it. And it was, you treat this person as a stranger. Doesn't mean I break relationship with them, but I love my neighbor, and I'm hospitable to the stranger, and I received, I'm listening, and if I have something for them, then I'll share my bread with the stranger, but that stranger doesn't have full access into my house, doesn't get to rearrange my altar, doesn't get to comment on my children, and doesn't get to question how I'm raising my kids, because they're not in covenant relationship. And a lot of us have gone through this wrestling with our life partner, and I've questioned that, and I've had that release of the Lord myself. And it's because sometimes in the natural mind it makes no sense, but it's holy vows, and God said, no, you and him. Because there's a government that we can hold as a family for the new technology to come through our gate, through the womb of awakening. But it can hold, it has the strength of the shaking when it's healed and whole, because it is faithful and true. and diligence, and then he can dwell and you can walk in might.
There.
And that is governmental relationships. So a lot of you, this is what your marriage is supposed to look like. And I was talking to a guy, he was a chief's son. And I said to him, I said, who is left alive above you? And he looked and goes, oh, my mum's passed and my dad's passed. Oh, my auntie and my uncle, but that's another branch.
Right.
And that's that thing. And him being released and received and understood, because he's carrying marine technology and understanding of the Nephilim. And God said, no, I'm revealing you to them. So all of a sudden he's stewarding the land. He's in the high places,
Right.
boundary stone. And then, you know, God's saying, just say no. And he's like, no. And the hovercraft went, because it was in stealth mode, and then dimensions are opening, and they're like, oh, you can see me. I can see you.
Yep. That's
I'm not in a vain, you know, I'm not in a vain imagination. I'm not attracted, you know, and he's talking about the people whose face shifts and they're being seen, because the opposite, you know, enemy of the state of who we are, the enemy of the state of our being,
right,
recognizes us, but it's an outer thing. And so he was talking about being in a car park building, and a woman wearing shades stopped and would not stop staring at him. Now that doesn't happen. And she's all in black. You can see that. You can see by the spirit. And you can see behind the glasses, the black eye. You can see that by the spirit, because we're teleporting, we're telekinesis, we're connected because we're like-minded, we're of spirit. So when people come to me, we're going into spirit vision and we're connecting the dots. We're not idiots. We're nobody's fools. And he's like, Papa, what's that about? Because he has relationship. And the answer comes. Do I do anything? No. Boundary marker. He's walking the land. And he is now being revealed and recognized. That is a level of authority we do not. This is resurrection glory. So share, let's go into that. What have you felt? Oh, and I just want to honor Rain and Gray, and I want to honor Jonathan. And I honor them because I understand the legacy. I understand the wine. I understand the movement. I understand the dance. And I release grace and ease over your children to come up higher, and the pathways that you've paved. And it's something very close to my heart because both my children are triggered. The dining room table is something that is a trigger for eating tea. And, you know, there's a route. It's like the tape just gets pushed and it gets rerun. And it's like, I'm kind of thinking, oh, let's just sit on the floor. Let's have a picnic. You know, sometimes you just got to do something different.
Shake it up.
Shake it up because it's the old record. But our kids who have not been able to express themselves are now growing up into adulthood. So it's threshold moments, because does the cycle repeat? It's that generational reboot, you know, the matrix, you know, you switch the light off and on. And this is a binary code, you know, this is the pattern keeping. This is the universal reboot that we've been in, and the reset. So now we can steward our epigenetics, but we're speaking something better going forward. So I release that grace and ease into your house, over your family, as a technology of healing and wonder and might. And I know, you know, I just want to thank you. And I speak to your mother and Karen. I just bless you. I bless you. I bless you. I bless you. I bless you. And I look forward to seeing you again. So let's go into a little bit and let's just spitball.
Okay.
Country style. Woo! Man, I just felt that. It's so good. And let's riff. You know, what does resurrection glory look like on your family line going forward?
Wow.
What's the promise in your heart that bubbles, your hopes?
I mean, kings and priests, stewarding a kingdom realm on earth as it is in heaven. I mean, that's it. That's what it is, you know. Abundant joy, abundant ease, abundant grace, abundant new technologies, grabbing that out of the heaven and releasing it, building it and releasing it into the earth. No limitations on my family. Not financial, not health wise, you know, and for me personally, you know, and I told you when we talked before, you know, my pain body is gone. It's gone. I have not had pain in my body since my birthday.
So
and I told you it was my
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, just dial back, come back.
Okay,
So we're going to do a few steps. So come back, talk about birth gate, the grace that came in, the ease, the burning, and then what happened, the transformation of your pain body.
Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. So my birthday's July 23rd. So on July 17th, I had another vision and was called up and was, you know, in my Father's kingdom. And I went to walk before him, and I messaged this to you and Renee. And I went before him, and this rubber like skin suit fell off of me. And I stepped closer to him, and I was clothed, you know, with these different garments. And I have been clothed before, but they were just different. They were higher than just righteousness. That's just the feeling. They were just higher than righteous, just righteousness. And I was handed a staff and a scepter, but it was like a staff, and on the top of it, next to my eyes, was this orb that looked like an opal, which I found today scrolling the algorithm of Facebook, pops up off of a gem page. It's an Ethiopian opal found in Ethiopia. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what was on top of my scepter. And then on the bottom, there was a key. And so integrating that, you know, and kind of unpacking that with the Father and what is all of this. So that was July 17th. On my birthday, and I don't know when I got sick again, another dis-ease, you know, another shaking spiritually. But I was sick on my birthday, so very, very sick. To me, you know, it felt like when I had malaria when I came back from Roatan, but fever was super high, just chills. My body hurt so much. But again, you know, I know how to sit. I know what's going on. You know, and I know that my body knows what it's doing because it takes its cues from the Lord. And backtracking just a little bit, I still hadn't recovered from February during that time. You know, I was still a little out of sorts of myself. You know, I still kind of didn't feel fully reintegrated earth side within myself, if that makes sense, from being, you know, sick during that time. And there was a cardinal bird that kept knocking on my window every morning. and it started in May. Every morning he came at the awakening of the dawn, and he would stay and peck on my window and flap his wings, sometimes for hours, until I would get up. And I shared with you, mornings have always just been hard for me, So sometimes this bird is like, get up, get up, get up for like 2-3 hours, I'd get up and I'd be like, do you want to come inside? What do you want? What do you want? Okay, I'm up. And this continued until probably the beginning of August, after I got sick over my birthday. And the record of my pain body, and that's what was being burnt up and released from me during the time that I was sick over my birthday, because I had been experiencing all of the frustration that I experienced during my birth and that my mother experienced. There was always this underlying frustration running under my life. I could always pick it up, but my mom was in labor a long time with me. I was sunny side up, had to be pulled out with the forceps, and so I was, of course, picking all of that up and dealing with all of that. And at the same time, really dealing with the record of shame, the generational record of shame for months, just back and forth, but in and out, dealing with that record. And so on my birthday, with being sick, and Paula, when I tell you, so sick, I'm laying in the bathtub and I'm like, Jonathan, because he's the one that got me sick. He was sick first. So I'm like, you're trying to kill me. You hate me. You're trying to kill me, My husband's sitting in the bathroom for hours with me, because the only place that I was comfortable was in the bathtub, of course, taking those sacred baths and birthing and purging at the same time, which the Lord has taught me to do, and where do we do that? Well, we do that in the bathtub, in the mikvah, because that's where we do that. That's where the ease and the record and the good record is available to us, as well as the washing away, so all that to say, that to me, now that my pain body is gone, I don't have pain in my body. It's gone. It's completely gone. And I've had that pain in my body since I've been 15 years old. Probably before that, I just wasn't super aware of it, I guess, but from 15 until 42 on my birthday, it's been pain body, my legs hurt, I'm ache, debilitating pain. I'm not just talking small pain, I'm talking debilitating pain. And, I know that the Seraphim, even from me back in 2010, from the original vision of the sword coming down, and then the next vision of, them operating on me, and then the vision with the scroll, all of that went together. And so that was, what did I say, 2020 on my birthday, I wrote the scripture of, being the kings and priests after the order of Melchizedek, and as Jesus of our high priest. And that was all that I wrote on that birthday. So 3 years to fully come through the record.
Earth time.
And yep, earth time. 3
Earth
years.
time.
And there was more stuff. There was stuff before that, but really co-laboring with Christ to do that, and partnering with him, co-creating, the dynamic of that, really being aware of that and conscious and walking that out with him. 3 years. 3 years.
Yes.
3 years in the grave, three years in the grave, dealing with, all of that. And so now I don't have any pain in my body. And not only that, there's not a toil in what I have to do every day in my life. I'm just rolling. I'm just flowing. When the Spirit says shift, I shift. If I have plans to cook and it doesn't roll that way within the Spirit, I just shift, and there's no condemnation, there's no I should be doing.
So just lean into that, because I felt a piercing pain in my temple, and I'm reminded of the scripture, of the temple, and you're really hitting something, and it's connected to the inner ear. So I just want you to speak again. And for those that felt pain or want to shift into a new way of thinking and hear this technology, because it's a pressure point and it's here and it's right connected to the ear, and it comes in through the eardrum. And it's also connected to where we've been under abuse or criticism or sarcasm. And the root of sarcasm, it's a tearing of the flesh. And its assignment is to destroy your confidence in who you are. So when we've been plugged into toiling, and we've been harnessing, and we've been pulling an agenda of something else, this is the unhooking and letting go. And that tent peg, it's Jael. She killed a king with a tent peg. And I just want to lean into that for a moment, because I feel this is what we are doing right now. So just get in, just let that river flow up and shed and shed and shed. And that's that thing when we're in post-traumatic stress disorder, or we're looking for, we've got to have that coffee, we've got to have that bliss, or we've got to have that energetic high of going to a conference to get the juice to do something. We have a racking up in order to clean the house, because we have to. It's the wrestling of being the prize fighter. We're boxing because we're heavyweights. So it's the catalyst to do, but you're actually unhooking, and you're delivering right there. And if you have understanding what that is right there, because it actually sits in the brain. So it connects the cheekbone. Oh, this is the Samson. Thank you. The cheekbone with the inner ear, but it's also a temple. It's the higher thought temple of the new age. Hallelujah.
Yeah. Well, yes. And also your lymphatics, which drain yesterday's information from your brain into your kidneys to be processed and let out. There's a major that's a major gate right there. That's a gate. That's a gate. It's a gateway to process. Your brain's letting go of the old of yesterday. It comes down here, and then it's pushed into your ports right here in your kidneys, your kidney ports, and then it drains down into your kidneys to be peed out, flushed out. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go,
And
let
this
it go.
Letting go of the resentment and the bitterness and the rehearsal in the mind of revenge and argument that you're having with people who aren't even there, and I'm going to tell them this and they've done me wrong, and it's a vain imagination. It's a movie center, and it's hieroglyphic, because all of that contains thought energy. And that you're sending out signals. You're in discord, dis-ease, and it's unpleasant. So the body hosts the record. And this is why it's so important. What sound are you sitting under? Because if someone is imprinting you with violence regarding the body, or self-hatred, or they're planting seeds of the devil and seeds of Christ, and you don't have the ability to judge. This is the justice. This is the weighing up and measuring and finding what is good and true and what is wanting. This is justified, you know, so that's good. And we've got to let go of the record of the past where we're bitter to come into happiness. We can't be happy and bitter. We can't drink the new wine of the vine and the cluster that is good in our Father's vineyard and enjoy our marriage if half the time we're bipolar and, you know, that whole schizophrenic, oh my God, I hate this man, you know, let me bring it in to say this. For some of you, when Christ gives you release, it's so that you can write a new agreement with your life partner. And some of us have never known what it means to be faithful. You know, we've been abused, cast aside, or used. So when a man is faithful and he stays through all your drama and all your angst, he's worth his weight in gold. But when you've been neglected and abandoned as a child, it's the testing of the boundaries. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Will you stay? Will you stay? Will you stay? And so that divergent stream, and go back in, because I honor what you're talking about, the gateway, because that's actually a really powerful key. Talk about the gateway again. And your
So it is, it's a gateway. So your glymph, which is the lymphatic, the record of yesterday that your brain lets go of, it travels back here, it goes down here, it goes up around your ear, or from the back where your brain drips around into here. And this is a major, major point. TMJ, you have TMJ, I had TMJ, that's part of it, you know, because you're not wanting to let go of the old record, and it builds right in here. And your gateway, your gate, it's wonky. It's wonky. It catches, it's wonky, it's not oiled, it's not taken care of, it, you know, the mechanism is just not okay. So, you know, if you have TMJ, that's definitely
what is TMJ?
So that's your temporomandibular jaw. So like popping, grinding and clenching your teeth, you know, all of that is in here, which I suffered from horribly. Now mine still pops just a little bit, but not like it used to. Mine was getting so bad it was catching. Like I would almost have to go like pop my jaw back into position, you know. But that's that clenching of not wanting to let go of the old record. And like I said, your lymphatic, it goes in here and then it drains down your neck into your kidney ports right here, and then it's into your kidneys to be flushed out through your urine. You know, our bodies by design, I mean, it shows us you are to let go moment by moment. Even our breath shows us that he designed us that way. We take in what we need and we let go of what we don't. I'm not breathing the same breath over, and I'm taking of the freshness of him now into myself, and I am releasing in me what no longer serves me.
Yeah.
And there's not even a toil to that, you know. There's not. We do it naturally. But it definitely is a gateway. It definitely is a portal. That breath work, if you can learn how to truly harness that to and breathe, belly breathe, let it go deep and let go, you know, that is a major portal of dropping down into that heart space rather than staying in that head space alone, you know.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And for those who were doing that with us on the broadcast, you will feel we've dropped down into a real sacred space, and it's so still, so quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. The frequency is totally different. We dropped down.
Yeah. And that's awareness. So talk about how with your pain body, so you've come into a new scroll through your birth gateway and a new awareness, and the breath work unlocked and allowed you to sit. So now that the pain record of that old body has gone, how is your frequency in your cells and your skin responding to light? Have you found the appetite shift?
Well, some. Now I am still at a point where, and this was another thing that I kind of was working through and I'm still working through. You know, I deprived my body for such a long time. And not that I was starving myself, but doing keto, you know, limiting what I could eat. And for my body to heal, I wanted fruit, and I wanted to eat a sandwich, and you know, so for me, I've kind of shifted into, I'm allowing my body to eat what it wants and what it requires at this time. Definitely not overeating like I would have in the past. So yes, there is a big difference there for me. You know, I'm consciously eating, and I'm asking my body, what do you want? What are you wanting? What do you know, what do you need? You know, what do you need right now? Do you need an orange? Do you need a banana? Do you need an apple with some honey? You know, what do you need? And so, and that's a whole different ball game. Consciously eating and respecting and honoring my body and giving it what it needs without judgment, without the fact that I've gained some weight and being like, oh, you're horrible, you know. Okay, so you've gained some weight. I mean, babies are chunky and we think they're cute. You know, I mean, and that's part of the repatterning for me, you know, for me. And loving my little girl, you know, and nurturing my little girl where, you know, she felt so out of place in the world, and not, you know, because she was a little chubby and didn't, you know, was bullied and accepted. Well, okay, well, that's, you know, that record is gone. You're gonna eat, and you're gonna, you know, and we're gonna be okay. And when it's time to, you know, create a calorie deficit in or whatever, when it's time, when my body realizes that it's safe, it'll start to let go, you know, it'll start to let go of what it's held on to. Does that make sense? I know that it will.
It's perfect. And, you know, becoming secure in our skin, you know, that place of safety is when we become secure in our skin, we become secure in our body, and we come home to ourselves. We're no longer abandoning ourselves. Right. We're empowered. We have authority. We're aligned with our will, and we know that we're accepted and we're authorized. So that security comes in, and our flesh, because our bodies are hungry for our word, but we've been waiting, sitting for the word of Christ or the life of the Spirit, because because it's the spirit and the life that activates through our words. And we've been waiting to recode our cells, the cellular memory. You know, you've opened up, you've cleared out the gunk of the gateway, and now it's like speaking the restoration of that becomes food. So your words become your flesh made manifest. And the other thing, and that becomes a vehicle of an abode where you're one and you're seated and you direct and you go, but it's an ease and it's a flow, and you are the river and you are the channel, because that's the restoration of our ancestral pathways, being females with the healers and the intuitives and the watchers and the spirit, you know, with the restoration of the medicine flowing through us and accepting our identity and taking all the labels off. You know, taking the chains where I'd done years of intercessory work, and the God himself asked me, he gave me an assignment, he asked me if I'd do something. And I said, yes, of course. And but the vision that I saw was Eve as a woman chained in a dock in a courtroom, and the court was in chaos and everything, all these accusations were being thrown at her. So it was the redemptive work, because we can't step into the bride when we're still judging. It's a religious court of accusation. And a lot of people don't realize the testimony that sits against them because of their words. And it's just careless, thoughtless words that have been thrown away. The other thing that I heard when you talked about you've gained weight, so you have gained weight because you now walk with a staff, and you have the opal, which is an Ethiopian stone, but their record says that their area is the spiritual bowl and birth chamber of spirituality, but also they carry the first record of the gospel, and they're authentic to the power of that, and they've held and stewarded the mystery. And so there are many dimensions there. That's beautiful. And you know, the pearl of precious price that you have paid to resurrect out of the grave, you know, as one who has left the formative years behind and thrown off all, and now you're walking forth. You know, that's like Mary Magdalene. She was authored, she had authority, and she was commissioned, and she went. And even though culturally she wasn't received because she was a woman, but she was authentic, and she was true to the vision and the inner witness and the dimensions and the soul alchemy of the medicine of who she was. And she took off the labels of men, you know, and of the church, and of the confusion and the misunderstandings, and trying to be impressed through a lens. Oh, it must look like this. No, it you know. And so it's interesting. So the weight of the wine around you, which is flesh, it's meat, you know, it's not milk. Milk is for babes, you know, vegetables, but you're sitting with weight, and weight to me speaks of kabod, glory, Shekinah, you know, the illumination, the ark, the covering, the meal, the portion, the scrolls, the testimony of who you are. But it's also dispensations of grace. You know, there's so many interconnecting changes and pathways opening up. And the meat, you know, because your people are hungry. You know, they want a good meal. They don't want yesterday's stew. You know, they don't want frozen microwave food. You know, they're looking for what's authentic, and you can sit, and then whatever comes out, and it's all good, because you had that key, and it's the key of Christ in you that unlocks you, and you've done the work so you can walk in the authority. And there's no pride, there's no arrogance, you've just accepted. I said yes. You know, and it's the majesty that wraps everything up. So it's a good meal.
It is a good meal.
It is a good
It is
supper.
a good
And you're
Yeah.
radiant. And I think this is the power that we're empowering people in, is I see you, I accept you, you know, because when we talk, we're talking spirit to spirit. You know, it's
Right.
not my clothing, it's not my flesh, it's not my skin color, it's not how I'm dressed, it's not my hair, it's not my jewelry. You know,
Right.
we were connecting, and we're journeying together. So this is what people are looking for, the authenticity of it. But, you know, and you're breaking the mold of culture. You know, the children are trained through social media and Hollywood and films, and the violence against women is horrific. And if you start looking at their options of what they're profiled over as
Right.
acceptable, and this is, you know, how you've got to dress to be chosen, and you know, it's a load of crock. It's a load of crock. And you're modeling, you know, you look beautiful. You're beautiful.
Thank you.
Modeling, you know, the beauty of acceptance and love as one fulfilled and happy, you know, content.
Yeah.
And contentment is comfort. And a lot of people don't know what it looks like. You know, they're doing plastic surgery, augmentation, you know, their insecurities, and they're trading, you know, and they're dying, you know, they're starving themselves. And that's why this whole spirit food, you know, got perverted by the demonic. And, you know, the whole thing about, you know, eat my meal, I'm a chef, is because they have no nutrients in them. But this is the illumination wanting to come through. This is how you sustain your life, strengthen yourself, commune here, come forth beautiful, you know.
Yeah, come forth beautiful.
Come
Come
forth
forth.
beautiful. And
Come
we've
forth.
come out of slavery. You know, when you leave Egypt and you come in as a king and a queen and a priest, you come forth in, just as I open that up, just step in and share your thoughts regarding that. Because we're giving a face to a generation that has not seen this before.
You come in carrying grace, carrying the answer, carrying the decrees, what the people need. You are entering in and carrying that. If you're a king, a priest, or a queen, and it's carried with kindness. There is a illuminating light of kindness, of you are welcomed.
Yes.
You're welcomed. My arms are open. My arms are open. You are welcome.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nurture. There's a nurture there, you know, and and a safety. There's a safety. You're carrying safety, and people can hear it.
Yes.
They can hear it. They can see it, and they can hear it. And that's why they come. That's why they came to Jesus. They could hear it. They could see it. He was different. He sounded different. He responded different than what they had, than the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You know, he was different. He embodied a completely different frequency.
Yeah.
And he drew people unto himself because that was just his being.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the integration aspect. Embodiment is taking the time to integrate and sit and become one with. And that's where safety comes. You know, will you sit with me when I reveal my darkness to you? Will you sit with me, or will you judge me when I tell you how I lost my virginity? you know, and people don't understand the blood covenants, you know, they don't understand. And so many people, you know, people die because the church says, oh, it's a contract with the devil. You're never going to be restored, healed, or set free. You're never going to be whole. So they label them broken and they judge them, or they want to harness and use their anointing and their giftings in a way of ministry. And so, you know, when we're forgiven much, we love much. So we go into service and we're prophesied over and we're imprinted and we're put weights and restrictions and we're bound and we're yoked and we're tied up and we're chained into a system in a way, but perhaps that's not how God wanted us to walk in, you know, and so we've got to come out of all of that and find Father, find that we're loved, and we've got to have our trust restored, you know, because there is a false father that sits there. There's a gatekeeper in the way that sits there, and we have to know how to navigate that. And that's why children, you know, they look, how do you treat your dog? You know, you can tell a whole lot of people about their dog, you know, and they're looking, they're sign readers because they're hyper vigilant, and they're looking, who can I trust? Who am I accepted? Who knows the way? Who is spiritual? Who is truth? Who has medicine? Who has healing? Can you sit in the depth of my depravity? And will you be my friend and love me anyway? You know, if I'm speaking to somebody who has been put on the block by the gangs to pay for her meth habit, will you sit with me? Yeah, honey, I will. You know, I may have rage and anger and want to speak a fiery word, and I may want to do that over the dimensions. And I have sat with the apostle and the thief and the chief, and I know the Mary. Whoa, you know, and there's that rises up as well. But you, honey, you are so honored. You are treasured, and I see. And I'm going to speak to you about healing and connectedness, and I'm going to tell you who you're going to be, and I'm going to encourage you, and I'm going to give you hope, and I'm going to say, maybe you can turn the key and go this way. And that's what coming out of shame, that was the whole COVID lockdown, you know, coming through that old record and had that old jumper taken off us by the angels that was so familiar. And like you said, you know, the angels were trying to minister to you, and you're like walking, you're like labor, and they're like, oh, you know, stay still.
Be still.
Yeah, no, you know, I'm amped. I can't. I've got to pace, you know, I'm locked up, I'm confined, I've got to pace. I'm like in the prison, and I just got to pace, and the fire is burning my record, and I don't know what to do, and I've got to rock, and I'm, you know, you're at the wall. And then the freedom comes when you go through that. And sometimes that's what illness does. It puts us in our bed so the ministering ones can come. And that's where sleep is so important. And if sleep wasn't a safe place for you at night, you can sleep during the day and find rest. The angels will come in, and your vision and your illumination, and you'll be connected, because it's just shadows, it's echoes, it's voices of many waters of terror. And we are reforming that which had terrorized, so that the zeal and the love and the majesty of Christ comes through with the beauty. And it's a new door, it's a new dawn, and it's a good thing.
It is. Yes, it is. It is a good thing.
It's a good thing. And
it is a good thing.
And this is the thing for those listening to the broadcast. We've described a thing, and it says, when you decree a thing, it shall go forth and accomplish all that it was sent forth to do. But most people that I talk to, they don't know how to name anything. So they can't describe a thing. So there's no depth. And we've dropped down, we've widened, we've lengthened. There's been wisdom, there's been counsel, there's been revelation, there's been understanding, there's been testimony and witnessing. There's so much richness. Now you understand what the thing is, and it is good. And
it is good.
just as we start drawing to a close, because we've been 2 hours so far, 2 hours and 12 minutes. We've just had so much
Oh my
fun.
gosh.
I know. It's so much life. You wrote something and you shared it with me. Do you have it, or like, I know you've got it in you, but I just want to, if we took communion and you shared that as an activation and just release it over everyone who wants to receive. And for those, who are listening to the replay, hit pause, go grab your communion, or do it with water, or do it in your imagination. We're going to play, we're going to have fun, there's no drama. You can do it wherever you are. Pull over on the side of your car, just sit in nature, sit on the grass and have your earpods on and just enter in, just receive and say yes, because we're creating a collective portal and this energy is here. And when we say yes, we're coming in to receive because we're remembering, and it's good food.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
sharing
Yes.
bread and fellowship.
Yes. Yeah. And let me just also say, there was a lot of things spoken about, and some of it, may kind of still be going over your head, and that is okay. That is okay. You can come back to this in a month and it will be more illuminated than what it was. We're framing up something for you. We're building, we're releasing that sound. And just because your brain does not have the programming to measure and decipher the color or, the material that we're using to build, doesn't mean that you won't develop that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's not for you. You've just not come into that. Sometimes we just don't recognize things, we don't recognize, our brain doesn't recognize, it doesn't compute, a new color that is a spiritual color, because we just don't have the grid work for it yet. But we're releasing that so that when that time comes for you and you start to experience that, you can perhaps go back and say, oh, this is what this is. And, there's been a pathway administered for you to walk on.
Yes. You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And we're excited to have our entire family as a whole with us, experiencing and eating from Father's table and playing in the sprinkler and exploring the rooms and the mansions. We're ready. I'm ready for y'all to be here.
Yes.
And to be free of the old flesh body suit and to come into your light body that is him, that is his design and making for you, so that you can up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, because it's super fun. It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah. And it's a light work.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And we've created a well. This is a well. Every time you come back, you'll drop a little bit deeper. And you can, yeah, so good, Tricia. Love you. Love, love, love.
Love you.
Yeah, we've just had so much fun. So much fun. And this is the thing, the well to drink from, and where we're welcome and we're fellowshipping, whānau, family, friends, loved ones, liberty. And it's rich wine. This is what the wine of the cluster that Father wants to give us. This is the grapes available to us when we let go. This is alignment. The other side of alignment tastes so good. There's so much fun and joy and happiness, and it's light. It's without effort. There's so much ease. So there you go. Okay, my girl, you let's do communion, and we'll just, hi everyone. I'm just reading some of the comments. Mark's there. Hi Mark. Kelly, Renee, hi. Great comments. They've been really engaging. Oh, Kelly's been lots of engaging, lots of comments. So, and Anne's there. Hi Anne. So totally agree, and it's fabulous. And I know many more are going to hear this as it goes out through our communities, our channels, our chats. You know, subscribe, send to your friends. I'll put it up on YouTube. You'll be able to see it there and I'll post the link afterwards. And if you want to trade into this, you're absolutely welcome to do so. Tricia will give us details, and I'll give details, and we'll do that at the end, not of the broadcast, but I'll drop it in afterwards. And the reason we talk about giving or trading, you're depositing the time and blood and the effort, and where you have been tilling your seed and the harvest of your field, your life's work, you know, the place of your employment where the Lord is blessing you. And so when you do that, you're saying yes, and you're depositing into your spiritual bank account, and it has equity. And it's an exchange and a currency, but you're also honoring, and you're receiving your reward. And that's that thing, you know, the rabbis talk about, you hold your seed until it's burning in your hand, and Father says here. So you don't give everywhere, you don't sow everywhere, but you wait until the soil is good, or there's a message, or there's a sound, or there's a frequency, or there is a love exchange taking place. And then it becomes honorary trade, because as a king and a queen, you know, we're not yeah, so beautiful. There's actually that's a real rich subject in itself. And
Yeah, it is.
I'm
Yeah,
just going to this came up for me this morning. A lot of us in requiring courage and protection, you know, that's that whole thing about being secure in our skin and feeling safe, because there's been so much confusion. People haven't known where to go, who to connect with, what to align with, what's safe, what's, you know, miscommunication, what's real, what's not. You know, that veil of illusion and delusion has been so strong, and the chaotic winds of confusion that have been whirlwinds. You know, we've spoken with clarity and grace, and there's this aquamarine is the color that came to mind. And it talks about symbolizing the stone of courage and protection, and it's calming and soothing, and it clears and inspires trust and security, and it calms the mind with ease and filters out unnecessary self-talk or weird eternal chatter. It shields the biofield. This is our spirit of faith. This is our aura. This is the shield around our lives. It supports clear communication and aids in transmuting anger and grief. And for many people, the sound of sorrow, we've been travailing in intercessory depths of prayer at the altar. There has been a crown that you know, that was the whole thing about COVID, you know, corona was the word for crown. So it had tried to take your crown, and the Lord is restoring a crown to you. And the other thing is it supports the eyes and the teeth and the stomach and the immune system, which is what Tricia was talking about. And we've taken that portal and gateway, and we've cleared it and opened it, and we've given you technology and insight and understanding and knowledge and power of instruction for you now to hold and steward the place that you've come into as the richness of your territory. And the decree is, I am God secure. I trust God in me. Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, what you said? I wrote something.
Yes, I can read it to you. You sent it to me this morning, and you were saying oh, here we go. So I'll tell you, and then you can activate it with communion. So I'll just remind you of your words that you've written. So when you have a scribal anointing and you write, you're connected, she's connected to the upper room, and she's sitting in her office, and she is writing a decree. She's connected with her heart, and she's releasing the frequency of life upon the words. And we talked about this, that our bodies are hungry for our words, and the words then become our flesh, and they activate, and they become our clothing energetically, because our words matter. So this is material matter that's been infused. And you said just a written declaration. This is what you did this morning, you sent to me. Just a written declaration, decree of the dynamic conversation that is about to happen. Your original datings of the shows, the coverage of the past, present, and into the future. Swing wide, you gates of time, boundless, open, and flowing. Swing wide, you gates of time, boundless, open, flowing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And this is the thing, when we collapse everything into now, past record, present, current time, the now, and then the seed going forward into the future, future time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let me just.
And I'm sitting in a vineyard with King David wine.
Yeah. So if y'all would like to grab your communion elements and take communion with us, you are welcome. You are welcome.
You're welcome.
You are welcome. And we honor our Abba Father. We honor Yeshua in doing this. We honor each house that is here and listening and partaking. And we honor your heritage and your tribe that comes with that. And as we partake, we do this as an act, as a remembering to the lineage from whence we truly came and are grafted into yet again earthside, as we make that decision and that declaration that he is ours, we are his. And so just like I said in what Paula had read, just a written declaration or a decree of the dynamic conversation that is about to happen. Your original datings of the show's coverage of the past, the present, and into the future. Swing wide, ye gates of time, boundless, open, and flowing. Your lineage into and with Yeshua's lineage causes the gates to swing wide. They're open, they're boundless, and they are flowing. And so I just activate a flowing in each one of y'all that are listening to this right now. And we remember that this blood grafts us in. We remember whose blood flows within us because we are grafted in.
Amen.
I thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah. And it is so. It is so. It is so. It is so. And the wine of the vine is good. Ooh.
Mm.
Yeah. And the Spirit is good. The Spirit is good. The Spirit is good. And the Spirit remembers not the record of wrongs. It is a new day, new dawn, new time, new experience, fresh beginnings, the old and the new coming together in the living word to testify and have fun. Father is a playful God.
Yes, he is.
You know, and
Yes,
may
he
the
is.
force be with you.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, bless you, Tricia. Thank you so much. Thank you for your family time that you've, sown into this. Thank you for the richness of it. Thank you, Jonathan and Gray and Ray. Yeah, no, thank you so, so much. And thank you for your mama who stood. You know, thank you for your grandma who stood. And I just want to honor the woman who stood and stayed. And I want to honor the men who didn't know what to do with us. You know, and that's that thing. You know, there are no mistakes. God knows what he's doing. He knows how to put things together. And he knows the weight of the matter. He knows the end. He knows the victory. He knows the joy. And out of a time of suffering, sorrow, and disappointment and grief, those tears, which are prayers, actually come back to water the garden of our life. And then we go on into a new day, a better tomorrow, the hope of a future full of glory and grace. And this is what the glory looks like. Practical. We don't abdicate. Yeah. Well, thank you, my friend. I'm going to sign
Thank you, my friend.
And thank you, everyone who has joined us. We've enjoyed.
Yes, we love you.
And I will post Tricia's details below, as well as mine for those who want to sew or connect. There you go. Okay. Ciao.
Bye.